Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for being here today for this important press conference. We appreciate, of course, everyone here, our media partners, community members, and also all the stakeholders for joining us today. Before we begin, I just want to go over some housekeeping rules. All speakers will deliver their remarks first, and then the speakers, this is for media, they will be available for interviews one-on-one after the press conference. Also, the congressman will be reading an official statement on behalf of the U.S. Border Patrol and Homeland Security Investigations since they are not here with us. With that said, I would like to proceed with our protocol list. First and foremost, I would like to recognize that he's present with us. It's our mayor of the city of Laredo, the Honorable Dr. Victor Trevino, and his wife, Ms. Rosa Marquez Trevino. Also with us is our Webb County Sheriff, the Honorable Martin Cuellar. Representing the Laredo Police Department, Assistant Chief Ricardo Gonzalez. Representing our city management, City Manager, Mr. Joseph Nebb. Assistant City Manager, Mr. Steve Landin. Assistant City Manager, Mr. Jose Valdez Jr. And Assistant City Manager and City Engineer, Mr. Ramon Chavez. Also with us, representing Laredo Independent School District, we have Mr. Oscar Perez. Thank you so much for being with us. We have representatives from the Department of Defense, the U.S. Army. We have Lieutenant Robert Crowley, Battalion Commander. And we also have Commander Sergeant Major Brian Good, Battalion Commander Sergeant Major as well. And we also have other law enforcement agencies with us as well, so thank you all for being with us. And now I would like to ask and introduce our guest speakers. First and foremost, our Mayor of the City of Laredo, Dr. Victor Trevino. Please come to the podium to say a few words.
Good morning, Dr. Victor Trevino, Mayor for the City of Laredo. The purpose of this press conference is to inform and educate our community of the heightened security that we're seeing in our border due to activities mainly across the border in Nuevo Laredo, and the importance of collaboration to protect our community. Today, we're here with Congressman Cuellar to discuss on how placement, goals, and strategies in maintaining our position of the #1 port in the country in the Western Hemisphere, while at the same time staying the safest city in Texas and in the United States. This is dependent on how effective our border security remains. The bridge between these two long-term pillars and the international trade and the community safety and our law enforcement is important. Now, this goes specifically to our collaboration with local, state, and federal agencies. It is also important to dispel misinformation and apprehensions which may not be backed by factual information. Some of the most obvious questions revolve around whether or not the City of Laredo will collaborate with the Texas Department of Public Safety, the Texas National Guard, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, and ICE, all of which work within our community. And the answer to that is yes. The city has always historically collaborated with these agencies. Several of these agencies have employed families, people that are local from our community. This is on addition with our Mexican counterparts, all of which are an integral part of our border security and infrastructure. Knowing that, we want to be the global public, and especially with our southern visitors and tourists from Mexico, to understand that when they're passing through our ports of entry, to know that they are welcome to our incredible city, which appreciates your visit, business, and investment in Laredo. Now, Laredo prides itself in the security of our community and values that we're the commercial center of international trade of the Western Hemisphere. That will not change. We will continue to share with the public reports that we receive from Customs, Border Patrol, and ICE as to operations in our communities, which up to now have not included raids in schools, churches, or shelters, as have been improperly reported on social media. I repeat, there's no valid reports of these types of raids. They are simply not true, as has been stated. The key to our long-term safety and prosperity starts with information to our community. And I also assure you as mayor that I will continue to be doing so, and my driving force will be to share that information. With that being shared, I will pass the podium to Congressman Cuellar. Thank you very much.
Mayor, again, thank you so much. I appreciate our working together, and I certainly want to thank the county also, Sheriff Cuellar, my younger brother. And of course, I want to thank also the state and all of y'all, the police also, my best to the chief also. And certainly want to thank also our federal partners also. I want to thank, Chief Munoz, Border Patrol agents for all the work that they do here in our area. And also I want to thank ICE for the work that they do in our area also. And we do have some other friends from the great state of Tennessee also that are here with us, and that is the NORTHCOM Task Force. We got some of our military folks. I met with their boss, General Goulot, earlier this week. We went over the work that they were doing, and I just want to say I really appreciate it. A lot of things that you're seeing happening in Mexico with not only the Department of Defense work that they're doing along the border. I think what the Department of Defense will stay on this side, but they're doing a lot of work with the Mexicans from sharing intelligence. Hopefully sometime in the future they'll be doing joint operations, U.S. on this side, the Mexicans on the other side, and not only on the land, on the border, but also for maritime also. And they'll be doing a lot of work, and I think we're now moving to a place where the U.S. and Mexico have not gotten to. And I just want to say thank you to the military. As you know, I sit on not only Homeland Appropriations, and that's why I'm a big supporter of Border Patrol, ICE, Air Marine, Homeland in general. But I also sit on Defense Appropriations, and I think we have the general coming up to us in April for his appropriations request. And I will be very, very supportive of the Department of Defense, especially how they're working. Not only what they're doing on the land, but they'll be doing on the maritime also, but what they're doing up there, they're doing surveillance also, staying on the U.S. side. I think the other U.S. I'll just say this, General, the U.S. intelligence, they're doing other things going into Mexico, but that's a different thing. But the military will stay on the U.S. side. And the work that they've been doing is showing what Mexico is doing to make sure that they stop the criminal organizations, to make sure that they stop the trafficking coming into the U.S., and especially when it comes to fentanyl. So a lot of the successes that you're seeing in Mexico right now is because of the intelligence we are providing. So I want to thank our military folks for the work that they're doing. I want to say a couple things. I'll start off first, and I think we know this from the sheriffs and the police, but I want to highlight this, and I think we're very familiar. When you look at the FBI latest stats, and I've been studying those FBI stats for many years, the border is safer than almost any part of the United States. And I can compare it, Laredo to San Antonio. Laredo safer than San Antonio. And those are using per 100,000 numbers. Safer than Houston, safer than Dallas, safer from, I'm not going to pick a place in Tennessee, but I can pick almost any place, and it's safer. So do we have issues with immigration issues? Yes, we do. But when it comes to crime, our law enforcement, along with the federal and the state, have been doing a great job. And let me just give you some of the latest numbers. The latest numbers that we got from the FBI Uniform Crime Statistics, New York, should I say New Orleans, let me give you one city. They had a murder rate of 52.9, almost 53 murders per 100,000. In Washington, where I work at, the murder rate is almost 39 murders per 100,000. And when you look at border communities in our areas, believe Laredo was 3.9 murders. So you compare 3.9 murders per 38 or 58 murders, it's day and night. Unfortunately, we have to put up with this rhetoric that people that run for state and federal office attack the border area, and it is not a dangerous area that we have. And I can go on violent crime, and I can go on property. It's the same thing that we see here. So one, just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Number two, and I voted. Sometimes I'm the only Democrat that votes for this, to cut funding for any sanctuary cities. Laredo or none of the border communities that we have are sanctuary cities. Again, we want to work with the federal officials to make sure that we enforce the immigration laws that we have. So Laredo is not a sanctuary city. Our area, I gave you some of the stats, and I got charts for almost any border city and other cities that we have. It's important to know that we are in a safe community. Now, when it comes to border crossings, Laredo has been the second lowest crossings in the nation for many years. We don't have the unaccompanied kids. We don't have the family units. Very different type of profiles. The type of people that we do get that come across are people that are trying to evade for different reasons, and this is where the intelligence is going to come in. But our area has been the second lowest crossing area when it comes to immigration in the whole country itself. So no sanctuary city, safe area that we have, but we want to continue the work that we're doing with our Border Patrol and the other areas. Now, my position has always been very clear. I think we need to focus on criminals and deport criminals. Even though just recently we're getting 28 criminals from Mexico that are going to be handed over to the U.S. On that. But we want to deport criminal aliens. No place in town here or across the nation. I also feel that the 1.3 million final deportation orders that we have, people that went in front of a judge and they had their day in court, those people should be removed. Anybody that's a risk to the national security should be removed. And probably some of the recent crossers that we have should be removed also. Now, people that have been here for 10 years and dreamers and other folks, I think we need to slow down on those because that certainly will have an impact on our economy, and I think we need to be a little bit more compassionate. But the other four categories that I mentioned, I think we need to definitely focus on that, especially when it comes to criminals, and make sure that we stop what's happening here. As you know, numbers have gone down, and I think through the work that you're doing, the numbers have gone down. And I think two reasons. It started off last year. One, when you get Mexico and the other countries that do more, playing defense on the 20-yard line instead of the 1-yard line called the U.S. border, numbers go down. When we change policies that like they changed last year and continued now, that is no more catch and release and let asylum seekers seek their asylum in their country, numbers go down. And now with the work that the departments are doing, Department of Defense and of course Homeland are doing, is very important to make sure that we understand what's happening down on the earth. So the numbers have gone down for various reasons. Now, sometimes we get things that, there's misinformation like the mayor said, oh, ICE is running left and right and, Border Patrol are getting on buses. That part is not true. But let me just say my understanding in talking and dealing with ICE for many years is this. And I'll read the statement in a few minutes. But let me say this. Look, if they're going after a criminal, and then in that house there happens to be a few people that don't have documentation and are not criminals, they're not going to be released. Unfortunately, they just happen to be there where the criminals are going. But the focus was on the criminals itself, not on the other undocumented aliens. So sometimes people, oh, there was a raid. Well, there probably was a raid, but the focus was on the criminal. But if there's somebody there without the proper documentation and happen to be there, they're not going to be released because that's what the law says. So the relationship that we have with Border Patrol here, the relationship that we have here with ICE is very different from so many other places itself. So I will read the statement on behalf of both the chief and Alex, the head of HSI ICE here. And I'm going to read it, and then if you all have any questions, but we'll get it in writing to you, and we'll work with you on it. Is basically, this is the statement, the official statement on behalf of U.S. Border Patrol and ICE, Homeland Security Investigations. Quote, we are protecting our schools, our place of worship, and Americans who attend by preventing criminal aliens and gang members from exploring those locations. Taking haven there because they know these criminals knew that law enforcement wouldn't go inside under the previous administration. DHS directive gives our law enforcement the ability to do their job. For contents, our agents will use discretion. Officers will need to get a secondary supervisor approval before any action is taken in those locations, such as a church or a school. And again, they expect this to be extremely, extremely rare. Again, if any media has any further questions, you can contact those agencies. But again, I know we see some of our school folks here. We're the church leaders on that. But again, I want you to just make sure you understand. They're not going to go on schools to check the IDs of the kids. They're not going to go in the schools to check the IDs of the kids. But again, if they have information that there is a criminal at a school or at a church, then again, after secondary, they will go in. And I understand and I agree with that. Myself, as a congressman that does their oversight, I agree on that. But I want everybody to understand, they're not going to be going to USD or LISD, Mr. Perez, and say, we're going to go check the IDs of all the kids and all that. They're not going to do that. But if they feel there is a criminal element, then of course, I'm sure they'll work with your police department, and I'm sure they'll work with our folks here because it's a criminal element, and work with the police and the sheriff to make sure we address that. So this is why the mayor and I wanted to make sure that people understood what we're doing here. Now, a lot of things happening in Washington. We can talk about that at a later time. I know at 2 o'clock I'll be talking about some of the cuts and all that, but I will say that when it comes to the Department of Defense, I don't think we'll see those cuts. When it comes to Homeland, I don't see those cuts. But unfortunately, there are looking at some of the cuts which I don't agree with. But that will be up to the appropriations at a later time itself. So, behalf of the folks that I represent, Border Patrol, ICE, the Department of Defense, I just want to say I appreciate the work that you're doing. And I'll be happy to answer any other questions, or the mayor will do that in a few minutes. And again, our area is becoming a place for Homeland. We got a $285 million facility that's been built in Laredo, the processing center for Homeland. We got the $60 million Air Marine facility, hangars, and office space that hopefully should be done this year. I've been waiting for them to get it done. The checkpoint, the $15 million and the other monies will be, they're using that money. So our area is becoming a Homeland Security Center in so many ways. And we will continue working with them. And if we can work with our Department of Defense, we'll work with them in any way that we have. So with that, I think love to hear. I do want to say something on it. And again, I don't want to speak on behalf of them. But under President Bush and President Obama, there was a program called Secure Communities, and I hope that they will consider. It was basically providing at the jail biometrics. So if they happen to have a criminal, sometimes you have to go based on that. But there were some good things that were done under President Bush and Obama that I think we need to look at, things that were very effective. You know, instead of inventing the wheel, I think we can look at a lot of things that have been done in the past. But again, do it in a balanced way. Do it in a balanced way is what I always say. Thank you so much, and I think we're going to hear from the police and the sheriff.
Good morning. Assistant Chief Ricardo Gonzalez, Laredo Police Department, here on behalf of Chief of Police Miguel Rodriguez, who cannot be here with us today. For the Laredo Police Department, nothing has changed. We will continue collaborating with our federal partners. That is the key of why this city is very successful in staying safe. Thanks to the support that we've received not only from city, but our federal government in getting resources to this area, we have been able to keep transnational criminal organizations at bay. Any change in that will show deficiencies, and these criminal organizations will exploit it. Now, don't confuse that message with message on how we work with victims of crime. Two very different topics, even though it touches on immigration. And like the congressman said, we need to balance that responsibility. It's very complicated in nature, but I will give you a general sense of how we operate with the Laredo Police Department. Because of what we do, we have to be very careful with how we manage approach to this very sensitive topic because of racial profiling laws that we have to abide by. So the policy of the police department is officers should not detain a person solely because the officer suspects or knows that a person may be undocumented immigrant or for the purpose of determining or investigating the person's immigration status. Officers should not inquire the nationality or immigration status of a victim or witness unless doing so is relevant to the investigation, or to provide to the victim or witness with information about immigration visa programs that they could benefit from by collaborating with us and the criminal justice system. And lastly, officers have lawfully detained a person to conduct a criminal investigation to alleged criminal offense, or who have arrested a person for criminal offense may inquire into the person's immigration status for proper identification purposes. At that point, we collaborate with the Sheriff's Department and also our federal partners. And yes, people that find themselves working outside the law will be affected. And that has always been in effect for decades, and it will remain in effect as we speak. It's a proven recipe. As it said, mechanisms that have been in place in the past. It works for us very well, and we'll continue those efforts to make this city safe and keep our industry of import-export and Laredo as the #1 land port where it needs to be. Thank you. Sheriff?
Thank you, Chief. You know, I'm really glad that we work together very closely, and, you know, Chief Rodriguez also, and all the chiefs in the back there. You know, we work very closely together because you can't leave it up to just one entity to do all the work. You know, it has to be a joint teamwork effort, and that's what we do. You know, we talk about, you know, someone being stopped out there on the road. You know, if they're transporting illegals, then we turn it over to Border Patrol. You know, we're not trained to process this type of immigrants or anything like that. So I know the PD does the same thing also. They turn them over to Border Patrol. But we are not going to be out there looking for illegals. That's not our job. We're not trained, first of all. But if we happen to we run a search warrant and they're there, then, we call Border Patrol. Most of the time, we're working together with different entities. I know Henry mentioned the jail. We have what we call the identics, and I have some people here from the jail division. We have the identics where, Border Patrol comes and checks, all of them. They have a system and they look at the list and they put immigration holds on them, because they're criminals now, right? They've been charged and, or convicted of a crime. So we have that in place and we've had it for decades, for a long time. So we don't change the way, what's happening right now. It's the same thing. I know that Sister Rosemary's not here, but she was very concerned about, I think y'all had a meeting, with us, and she was very concerned about, us, arresting the victims. We're not here to arrest the victim. We're here to protect them. So we're going to continue to do that. So again, in working together with everyone, I think we're going to do good, and we're going to continue to be the safest city in the whole state of Texas. That's a pretty big state. So bigger than Tennessee, I think. Yes. But anyway, thank you again, and thank you for y'all's effort. If we had our office, done by now, we would invite you to be in there, because we have what we call, and PD is already ahead of the game. They have a real life crime center. And, theirs a little bit different than ours. Ours is going to be protecting the borders, where we're going to be, watching live feed cameras and working with DPS also. So it's going to be very high tech. And, as for the schools, we are providing the high rate, technology that we have in communications, because we don't want something, like in Uvalde that happened, they had no radio communications. With our radio communications, y'all hooked up to us, y'all gonna be very good. It's gonna happen. So I'm just waiting. Hopefully, we can get into that new office and be able to provide more public safety. Thank you.
Thank you to all that accompanied us today, all law enforcement agencies and everyone here and all of our speakers. This will conclude our press conference. Everyone is available all the speakers, I would say, are available for interviews one-on-one, correct, Congressman? Yes, okay. Thank you so much.